Okay, so I have a question for hikers, especially the desert hikers, Kenny Beach hikers, because I'm really not understanding the mindset. This is a shelter that I let my son do for a valuable lesson. This would be a hypothermic based shelter. He has absolutely no ground cover, so he is letting the ground pull all his body heat out of his body. If he would have had a fire out in front of him and he would have had leaves, branches, something underneath him to try to sleep in that, then he would have had a survivable shelter. He wouldn't have had to worry about hypothermia. He wouldn't have froze his little ass off. None of that. He would have had the space blanket would have reflected the heat right down on him. He would have been in good shape. Now, if on this shelter, now I'm not saying that you need to run out and build shelters all over the place. It's a hell of a lot of work. But you can see by these pine needles, this is called a raised bed lean-to. And if you close off these ends, you can stay out there with a long fire in front of you and temperatures down to 40 below zero. No sleeping bag, no cover, no blanket. You will stay warm in that because your fire is going to radiate the heat. Your heat is going to reflect back down onto you from the logs. You're up off the ground, so you do not have the ground sucking your body heat out of you. That is a proven fact. This is one of the most basic mountain men shelters there is. Okay, now let's go into hypothermia. This is all body, well, it's thermal regulation. In order for your body to maintain a level, its proper temperature, 98.6, you have to eat, you have to drink fluids, your clothing is important, shelter can be important, but if you are in temperatures 40 and above, you have every chance in the world to make it. Simply because when once you start getting into hypothermic conditions, the first thing that's going to happen is your body is going to start shaking. High blood pressure, shivering, rapid breathing and heart rate, constricted blood vessels, apathy, fatigue, impaired judgment, lack of coordination. That is how come if you start getting cold, if your fingers start getting cold, you build a fire right now. You don't dick around and think, oh boy, I'm in trouble. Your body in this first stage, once you start shivering, you're not going to be able to sleep. It's not until you get way into, once you get down into here, yeah, you might be into more problems. 82 to 90, you're in trouble. Here is your symptoms: dizziness, hunger, nausea, difficulty speaking, shivering may stop. But if you are in this first stage, and you're not going to skip mild, moderate, you're not just going to jump straight into severe conditions. It just doesn't work like that. So if you are having trouble, then what you need to, once your body starts shivering, that's when you get up. You do a walk. It doesn't have to be a mile hike. You walk in circles. You do squats. You do anything that's moving to raise that body temperature back up. So, as far as hypothermia, I'm not as worried about hypothermia simply because I know the signs of it and I pretty much know how to get going. Is it going to be comfortable trying to do all that? Nope, not at all. This is the one that scares the living shit out of me. After doing heat exhaustions and 3 heat strokes, hyperthermia scares the living shit out of me, and that's how come when it's hot, I stay in the air conditioner. But when it comes down to it, let me see. I seen this, and I wanted to cover. Damn, I went too far. The stages of hyperthermia and causes: excessive sweating, exhaustion, flushed or red skin, muscle cramp, spasms, pain, headache, mild lightheadedness, nausea, cold, pale, wet skin. This is heat exhaustion. Cold, pale, wet skin, extreme or heavy sweating, fast but weak pulse, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, headache, muscle cramps, exhaustion, weakness, intense thirst, dizziness, less frequent urination, and dark urination. That right there is crucial to Kenny's getting back to the video, or back to his car hike. He was cramping and he was having a hard time drinking. Those are all signs of hyperthermia and dehydration. If you add dehydration into it, that is, and you cannot get away from it. If you're not peeing on a regular basis and your pee looks like orange juice, you need to start pounding some water. That is how, that's how you thermoregulate. You sweat, you go to the bathroom. Going to the bathroom is how you remove all the toxins. When you're in physical activity, that's when your body's flushing itself. So, as far as I'm concerned, hyperthermia is a hell of a bigger factor than hypothermia. When you go into hypothermia, or you start going into it, this right here is your instincts are going to kick in. When you have people that say they go out and they hike and they get tired, okay, that's where you're starting to get into the fatigue factor. You're sweating, you're exhausted, your skin, cramp, spasms, pain, headache. Now, the cramp and the headache is going to be more from dehydration, because if you're hydrated properly, you're not as apt to fall into it. So anyway, that is kind of where I was going with that. But as hikers, the only hiker out there that I know and have watched and has commented as to what he takes with him is Scott Nuttall. And Scott takes the most important thing you can take with you anywhere. I don't care if I'm going up elk hunting, if I'm out with the kid, I always take a belt knife. With a belt knife, I can do damn near anything. I can make cordage, I can make a fire, I can make a shelter. The basics that I need to do, I can make traps, then I have food. So I'm really I really respect Scott simply because he at least carries a knife. I don't know if anybody else does. I mean, if I was to go out there and go hiking, which I have every intention of doing, I want to go out there so bad it ain't funny. I'm not planning on solving anything per se. I just want to see it. It's new country. That's what life's all about. Seeing new sights and getting to go places that you might not have ever wanted to go before. But I guarantee you my backpack is not going to change except for water. Water is the one thing, but after watching Scott's videos where he went up and found that spring and had the bat drinking by him, with Aqua Chigger confirming that there's water at the other spring, water doesn't scare me as much because it opens up the door to be able to go out and be able to build an overnight shelter. And I'm not taking a sleeping bag, but I want to go out there and do like 3-4 days before I make it back to my pickup. So anyhow, that's my thoughts on the dehydration, all of that. Yeah, it sounds good, but if you don't know shit about it, then I guess that would be a good reason to preach about it and be scared of it. Alright, later.